So the last couple of videos, we've been making this program to calculate the batting average for a team, right? But what we're going to do now, we're going to put that away for the moment, and we're going to make a new file, okay? Because we're going to talk about arrays. Now, this is sort of a misnomer in Python. There aren't actually arrays. What there are lists, okay? So to make a list, all you have to do is type list, and then put in the things you want in the list. Okay, so let's say, sorry, one, 2, 3. We want those to be in the list. Okay, let's name this my list. Okay. Oh, sorry. My list. What we have to do, we have to put the list thingies. Okay. We only can declare lists just like that. Okay, so now my list is a list. So if we would type in my list, it's like a print my list. So we see this empty set of brackets. Okay. Now what we can do, we can put stuff inside those brackets. We can do my list dot append, and let's say we append the number 34. Okay. Well, now let's look at my list again. Okay. Well, now it's holding 34. That's great. So, but come on, Noah, we could just have my list equal 34. You're right. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna append something else. Dot append 12. So now my list holds both 34 and 12. And the thing is, a list can hold an infinite number of objects, okay? But here's the cool thing. What you can do, instead of accessing all of them like we did here, let's add one more thing. My append 54, okay? So now we have my list has 3 things in it. Well, let's say I just want to see the first thing. Okay, well, what we can do, my list, 0, right? Because remember, we start counting at 0, right? Just like in the range. So we hit enter, and that's only going to say 34. So the cool thing here is we can make a for loop now for I in range. Now here we have another command, length of my list. Okay, so however many things are inside of my list. Okay, right now we have 3 things. It's going to see that as range 3, and we know what range 3 looks like, right? It's going to do the, yeah. Anyway, so we can then put our colon and then print my list I. Okay, so look at that. It printed out each of those 3 things, or we could have done a calculation with each of those 3 things. That's the cool thing about arrays. They're a bunch of different numbers stored in the same place, and you can use them inside of a for loop instead of, because back over here, when we would collect numbers, right, we collected hits and at-bats and batting average. And then when we did the for loop again, we would just write over them. We would erase the old hits, and we'd put in a new hits, and we'd put in a new at-bats, and put in a new batting average. Well, let's say we want to save those. Okay, what we can do is up here, hits is going to equal an array. Or we could also say at-bats equals list. I think a list is actually the better thing to do, just so you can see it's a list. Right? And then, what are we? Batting average, right? Boom. Now, so what we can do, hits dot append. We just append the input, right? There's no equal sign here. It knows now, okay, we have an empty list. The first time we go through it, we're going to put in the input. Okay, and we're going to do the same thing here for the at-bats. Append, and we just delete that. dot append that. Now, so let's go and let's see. We're going to run it. There will be an error. Okay, save it. How many players on the team? So there are 3. Okay. Player 1 is going to be 5 out of 20. Okay, so there's an error. Okay. Here's the thing. Because batting average now is equal to a list, it doesn't actually equal any number. Okay. So we now have to say which one we want to talk about. We want to figure out, okay, so in a list of how many things, we're talking about the I thing, right? Whatever number that our for loop is on. We're just going to add that. So that will tell the computer which thing inside of the list we're talking about. Okay. So we already learned how to use the I for reading purposes. Now we're using it for something a little bit more important. All right, let's run this. 3 players on the team, 5 out of 20. Wait, what? Oh, right. See this? Because that's also a, yeah. Those are also lists, and we can't divide a list by a list until we get into matrices, and that's very, very complicated. So there we go. So now we're going to run it. There are 3 players on the team, 5 out of 20. Right, the batting average was that. Okay. Now it shows it inside of a list. Okay. Because again, I didn't have. Again, it's very important. You have to index the thingy in your. You have to index all of these hits. Okay, and all of these at-bats, and all of these batting averages, because each thing, it's talking about a list, and we don't want to talk about a list, we want to talk about one thing inside of the list. So let's continue with this one. So player 2, that's 12 out of 50. See, so now it's showing you up here the list, okay, boom, and then boom, right? So that's and then we also have the batting averages here as well. So we see all of them. And then 20 out of 100. Okay, so that is how we use an array inside of a for loop.